I'm seeing more and more. I mean, I'm seeing so much insulin resistance, and there's a common thread. I have never seen somebody who's insulin resistant, who the majority, 90% of their diet is unprocessed foods and balanced meals. But we have been convinced that that is restrictive. It's not restrictive, it's how we're designed. And the problem that we have is we've gone against our biological design for the sake of what culture has told us is normal, which, shocker, we've seen this many times before. We're seeing it right now in culture across so many different sectors, but that's it. It makes you sick. You have a repeat customer. If people are healthy, they're awake. I mean, your entire audience is on here tonight. You guys are all awake. They don't want us to be awake. They want us to be sick, because you have a million different problems until you're sick. And then you only have that one problem. And so if they can create sick people, we don't pay attention to what they're doing to us. We don't pay attention to policies. We don't pay attention to world affairs. And we just let all of these corrupt people run amok. And to your point about, LA and the mayoral race, this is across the board. It's like, pick your poison. Who's the lesser evil? But nothing really ever changes, right? We have to be the change. And with our health, it's not going to be, I love RFK, but he can't change your health for you. You have to make a decision to stop blindly being led around, whether it's him or it's the influencers on Instagram, and take control over yourself. It's you. I don't even want people listening to me blindly. Go do your own research. But what the research will tell you is you will never find a person who's overweight, who's eating 90 to 95% unprocessed foods, balanced between proteins, fats, and carbs, 3 to 4 meals a day. You're not going to find that. So this is not complicated. This is actually quite simple. It's very simple.
The thing that I found was what really turned my life around. I've always liked cooking, and I find that I do a fairly decent job of it. I say that because I actually like what I cook. So, I think that was a huge part of it. And then the person who truly changed my life, I would say that in terms of like really getting into shape. And it's funny because when I first moved to Florida, and this was in the fall of 2012, I saw a picture of myself right before I moved. And then I saw what I looked like about, I would say 3 years later. Hats off to Tony Horton. P90X is definitely, that was definitely what really did it for me. Like I really got into it. And I found that meal prepping as well is a huge part of it. If you are going to go out to eat, for example, again, if you live in LA, there's a reason why when I've been to LA and I've been to Spago, for example, that is a very expensive place to go. But it's also a place where you are likely safe in terms of the quality of the food. Now, unless you're going to a high-end restaurant that lives and dies by its reputation of the affluent class that comes and eats there, you are at the mercy of whether or not people want to follow rules. Now, I know I'm going to upset some people in the audience when I play this clip of you, but I have to play it. I have to play it.
Okay.
I know you guys out there like to eat Girl Scout cookies. I think most people every once in a while like to indulge in these little treats here and there. I get criticized all the time because I truly live. I mean, I'm about to turn 43 in a month. And when people ask, well, how do you maintain your youthful look? I say, look, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't eat any junk. And this is something where, yes, Jen, frozen thin mints, they are amazing. I'm not too sure how good you're going to feel about it after you watch this.
Why our kids are so sick? Watch this.
For the first time in history, the #1 kids cookie brand has a direct link to autism.
Toxic Girl Scout cookies? Researchers say yes, they contain ingredients linked to autism and cancer.
This cookie is doused with weed killer 334 times above the safe limit, and it gets worse. Girl Scouts cocoa is chemically gutted with potassium carbonate, destroying 90% of its antioxidants, then fused with a Prop 65 carcinogen banned from Coca-Cola's recipe. That stripped paste is then sweetened 3 times with corn syrup and molasses.
As if sugar isn't bad enough for us, all of these processed foods that are loaded with sugar are also loaded with glyphosate and all kinds of other ingredients that are toxic and poisonous.
I want to be very clear. If people want to truly understand why it is, again, it's like the whole issue with the cancers that came from Roundup. And now Roundup is probably not as common as it once was. So they came up with a different chemical. What I truly think is the conspiracy here, if you really want to call it that, is that big agriculture and big pharma are in bed together. The idea is to make you eat food to get you sick so that you get on medicine for the rest of your life. I mean, really, is that much of a conspiracy? I don't think so.
No, it is a conspiracy, but it's a conspiracy. I like to call it a conspiracy reality, where yes, they have conspired to poison us because they need customers. The system is not set up to make money if we're healthy. And that's what people have to understand. You don't need to be an expert in policy. Here's all you need to know. Our system makes money when we're sick. They lose money when we're healthy. So for any individual to believe that our government is going to protect your health, that's a huge conflict of interest. Now think about this for a second. Food and Drug Administration. I've been saying this for years. Isn't that a conflict of interest? Because the food is what's making us sick, and then we get on the drug. So if the Food Administration and the drug companies are in bed together, what do you think that means for us as the consumer? So this is the thing, is from the time we're very young, we are taught and indoctrinated into this belief that if it was bad for us, the government would not allow for it. The government would not allow us to have this in our food supply if it wasn't safe. The government wouldn't allow this medication on the market if it wasn't safe. And that's why I'm encouraged to see so many. I hate what has happened in the wake of the COVID vaccine, but it's beautiful to see people waking up, because it's not because you're unintelligent and it's not because you're uneducated. It's because this was done on purpose. We, from the time we're very young, are told that our government is powerful and they're here to protect us, and we have such great standards and our FDA is so wonderful. No, it makes money when you're sick. It makes money when you're sick, and that's the real shame. And people are hurting and they're sick and their kids are sick because of it. And quite frankly, it makes me quite angry, as you can see from a lot of my social media content, because I'm just trying to warn people. I'm like, wake up, because you can do something about this.
You have a phenomenal physique. I am curious as to what it is that what does your diet look like? I am curious, from somebody who clearly does this in a very serious capacity, what does that generally look like for Ashley Conrad?
Great question. So I eat about 150 grams of protein a day, 130 to 150 grams of carbs. The rest are fats. I eat around 2,000 calories a day. And like I tell all of my clients to do, I do not eat processed foods, except for every once in a while I might have a chocolate chip cookie. But I try and eat single ingredient foods. That's it. And I just do repeat meals like you. I am a creature of habit. Meal prep works for me, and it keeps you on track. And then, every once in a while, because to answer people's questions, not people are thinking, oh my gosh, I couldn't live like that. But here's the thing, is that you can't have control over anything in this world until you can first control yourself. And the only thing that you can really control is your relationship with God, what you put in your body, and what you do with your body. And so when you begin to take on healthy habits and get yourself in phenomenal shape, which, by the way, is the way that you and I, Peter, we're supposed to be walking this earth. No one was designed to walk this earth in bondage in their body, overweight, diabetic, medicated, all of this. When you go back to the facts, that's the way that you do it. It's not complicated. You want to eat 1 gram of protein per pound goal body weight, around the same amount of carbs, give or take, depending on what your activity level is, and then the rest healthy fats, and get those from whole foods. And that's it. And I've been doing that for 20 years. And that's why even, in 2024, I was bedridden for 6 months and I didn't gain any weight. I had a horrible medical thing happen where I got misdiagnosed with, I had a horrendous bulging disc. Doctors told me that the disc wasn't bulging. They told me it was a labral tear. So for 6 months, I was in 10 of 10 pain, took my nervous system completely offline. And when they finally caught it, I should say when I caught it, and then they did something about it, I was bedridden. I was having to wear, not to be graphic, but I had to wear adult diapers because I could not get out of bed for months.
Yeah, I was not in a situation where I couldn't go to the bathroom, but when I was, let's say how it's 2010. So I had a herniated disc, and it was very bad, to the point at which I couldn't sit. Like, it was excruciating pain.
Yep.
And you learn a lot, but I've had 2 surgeries in my life. I had my wisdom teeth removed and I had a microdiscectomy. So I didn't have the removal of the disc. Thank God it didn't need to be done. Yes. However, what I learned after that, again, timeline to when the fit lifestyle really took over. The one thing I promised myself once I was able to sit again is that I'm never going to put myself through this ever again, whatever it is.
Yes.
And then you learn about what type of fitness training works for you. I have flat feet, and because of the way my hips rotate, I am not somebody who does very well with barbell squats. But you know what is very good for me and what I love to do is kettlebells. As far as I'm concerned, that's what Teddy Roosevelt used to work out with 150. Yeah. So you adjust, you do what's for you, and you make it work. But again, like you said, even in the worst of situations where your health can, just be called into question because you get injured or sick, etc., because of the lifestyle that you live, you avoid that.
Exactly.
And we've seen so many people who end up on narcotics when they get bedridden, and that's where that whole life spiral comes into play. And especially in that town, especially with so many people that want to be in the entertainment world, I can't even imagine. I mean, it's just it's so beyond the pale. But I am thankful every day that I chose to go down this road of living a healthy lifestyle. I wouldn't change it for anything. And the other thing I would also tell people, and again, you can definitely attest to this because I'm sure you've seen it in your clients. Again, not to flatter you more, but you're a good-looking woman, and so at the end of the day, when you're in really good physical shape, there is a level of self-confidence that takes over your disposition that clearly could never have existed before if you were not somebody who's living a healthy lifestyle. So I would encourage people on that merit alone, especially if, let's say, you're a guy and maybe you don't know how or feel comfortable or confident enough to go up and talk to women. Let me tell you, when you start working out and taking good care of yourself, there is this, I'm definitely going to go talk to that.
Yes.
That whole thing changes. So I would 1,000% encourage anybody to do that. I mean, to me, that really does make a difference.